Hello, I'm Casey Aiken. This is 21 This Week. Coming up next, Montgomery County stays true blue for Vice President Harris. Prince George's County Executive Angela Alsobrooks wins vacant Senate seat. Voters reject MCPS Board of Education incumbents. And voters tell Mark Elrich, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by former County Council member Nancy Floreen and Dwight Patel, third vice chair of the Maryland Republican Party. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. According to the New York Times, Donald Trump has completed a stunning political comeback. And while our state of Maryland stayed true blue and overwhelmingly voted for the Democratic nominee, Vice President Kamala Harris, it was a difficult evening for Democrats when the election was called early Wednesday morning for Donald Trump. In political terms, the election wasn't close, not in the Electoral College or in the popular vote, which no Republican has done since 2004. The New York Times states that Harris's defeat was a rejection of both Biden's performance as president and her own brief campaign. Nancy, Peggy Noonan, no Trump lover she, said it was the woke regime that people have come to experience as an invading force in their lives. The country has been waiting 4 years to hear from its leaders. What are America's interests? Is she right?
I think the Dems lost the popular vote for the first time since, since 2004.
Yeah.
So a lot of people that they've lost. Now, in this election, there's a big turnout. Trump won the popular vote handily. I will say this: he did not get as of this moment. He has not received as many votes as he did in his last run. But the final votes aren't in. I think it's hard to generalize, but I do think the issue of how much eggs cost at the store, and maybe to some extent immigration made the difference. I think it's wrong to assume that we know what's in the mind of all the voters. But I also do think that the Democratic Party assumes a lot about voting groups, which is wrong. That people of color are going to vote one way. That the issues are, everyone's a liberal if you live in a certain area, which is untrue. And I think it's going to require a lot of self-examination to get itself back together. I think Kamala did the best she could under limited circumstances. She did really, really well on the scale of things. So far she's gotten 69 million votes. That's more than Hillary did in 2016. She's almost up to Obama's number in 2008, but Trump blew her out of the water. That's for sure. And that says something about our country. What I don't know, and you Republicans will have to explain it to me, is the Republican Party just the Trump Party now? You'll have to let me know about that because can't figure you all out.
Well, I'm going to let Dwight answer that in a second. But Dwight, former George Bush advisor Scott Jennings said, I'm interpreting the results tonight as the revenge of the working class Americans, the anonymous American who's been crushed, insulted, condescended to. He said, they're not garbage. They're not Nazis. They're just regular people who get up every day and go to work and try to make a better life for their kids. And even though this was from a Republican, Senator Bernie Sanders said also almost as much when he said that the Democratic Party has forgotten the working class. What do you say?
I say I agree. And I'll tell you this, they need to take a page out of the Bill Clinton 1992 playbook. I think Kamala lost it when she focused on socialism. It's the economy, stupid. When you're paying $5 for a gallon of milk, $5 plus for a loaf of bread, and you're paying $3 to $4 a gallon at the gas pumps, that's what people care about. Abortion is not the end all and be all and that's what she ran on. Basically, you vote. He's bad. He's gonna take away your rights to rights of choice, and that is patently untrue. And President Trump won because I think people saw past the wokeness of the Harris-Biden Democrat playbook this time around. They really need to go back to their, you know, I mean, James Carville on MSNBC said it best, it's that the wokeness is what basically did in their campaign, frankly.
It's really debatable, as and I think we'll obviously, once we get election results and some post-election interviews and that came out from people, find out what happened. But it's certainly a stunning upset and a remarkable turn of events. Not many people expected that. I thought personally, I thought President Trump did capture that spirit of, what he would do for America, and that struck a resonance with the middle class, the flyover class. I mean, those were the people that came out strong, I thought. But any other final thoughts from anybody?
Yeah, I mean, this just shows that, one, the American people have seen past and they understand electing President Trump it's about for Main Street or Wall Street, and Kamala represented Wall Street while President Trump represented Main Street. President Trump understands the struggles families go through every day when they go to the supermarket or pump gas. They're working two jobs just to make ends meet. Kamala is out of touch.
Well, I'm going to answer Nancy.
Trump is a good salesman. He will say whatever he needs to say, and we'll see. I mean, it's all about the tax cuts for billionaires, classic Republican objectives, and we'll see how that all turns out, won't we?
Well, Nancy, I'm going to give a prediction on your question, which is whether this is the party of Trump or the Republican Party. I think it has the makings for the Republican Party, but I think the next person who runs in 2028 is going to have one heck of a time holding that coalition together, and also the charisma that Trump exhibited that spoke to a lot of people. And you can say he was a salesman. You said people said the same thing about Reagan. But there's the making of a real political movement there. But I want to shift and focus locally on what happened here in the state of Maryland, and in particular in Montgomery County. The other major contest that was the state of focus for a statewide attention was the race to fill the vacant U.S. Senate seat of retiring Democratic Senator Ben Cardin. For much of the year, former Republican Governor Larry Hogan and Prince George's County Executive Democrat Angela Alsobrooks were in a very tight contest. But in the end, Miss Alsobrooks won by a fairly comfortable margin. Dwight, former Governor Hogan, he outperformed Donald Trump by a wide margin in this election, but it wasn't enough because he underperformed his own vote count when he ran for governor. Where do Maryland Republicans go next?
I think we've got there in 2026. We've got a decent bench. There's a couple of people I can think of right now that'd be excellent candidates for governor. One being former Anne Arundel County Executive Steve Hsu. We've got also former Hogan administration folks that'd be excellent that were running. Jim Ports would be a phenomenal candidate for governor. He was the transportation secretary for Governor Hogan. I think we've got some good candidates out there, and I think the big issue is going to be the fact that Wes Moore is adding fees to vehicle purchases. He's even adding fees to EVs, like the same thing as the emissions taxes. He's leveling that on the EVs as well, which is going to irritate purchasers of EVs, frankly.
So, but I mean, the other kind of question to this, Nancy, is it concerning for here in Montgomery County that Vice President Harris received 127,000 fewer votes than Joe Biden did in 2020? Is that a signal that people in Montgomery County are turning purple?
Oh no. You guys,
That was a
you just
softball,
have to
Nancy.
give up on my. You didn't just have to give up on Montgomery County. You know that. That's not going to change. Montgomery County is never going to go anything other than blue. I mean, the rest of the state is interesting. Query what's happening in the 6th congressional district. It looks like April McClain has pulled it off. Delaney, as of this morning, yesterday she was up by 300. Today she's up by 3,000. So, we'll see. The provisionals aren't all counted, but we'll see what happens.
So, Dwight, do you think that Hogan ran a good race? Could he have done something different?
Yes, I think he could have run. What he should have been running on is on kitchen table issues, the price of gas, the price of food. He should have done a commercial where he goes into a grocery store and gets sticker shock when he's gone through checkout and realizing he's paying $5 for a gallon of milk and a loaf of bread. That stuff is what sticks in the people's mind. Focusing on being pro-choice, focusing on, it was those commercials for Alsobrooks not paying her taxes and possibly not even paying some federal taxes were good, but I think he needed to talk about kitchen table issues. I don't think he talked enough about the kitchen table issues.
So, Nancy, I thought it was
he did well. I'm sorry.
Well.
Going back to Hogan, though, on the scale of things, he got over 1 million votes last time around for that Senate seat. It was only about 700,000 votes from the Republican side. So, on the scale of things, he did really well. He's only 200,000 less than Alsobrooks, which, typically that seat gets blown out of the water by the Democrat. He did, really. But he was never going to win.
I don't know. I think he could have won. I think the fact that you had a lot of lies being told about the governor's record on things like abortion by the Democrat super PACs, I think that also had an effect. Anyone who knows Larry Hogan he's not going to go there and just all of a sudden become MAGA Larry. I have a hard time getting 5 Republicans to decide where we're going to go to lunch. Do you really think a Republican majority is all going to agree on one thing? No, they're not. Frankly, we're the Republican Party. We're not the organized party.
All right. Well, we need to go to break now because we're going to talk about the county issues when we come back from this short break. County voters reject MCPS board incumbents, and voters embrace term limits for the county executive. Stay tuned.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. Well, not in your hand trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign, not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
You saw them all over the county. It was a yard sign. It had a simple message. Vote yes on question A. If there was anything else written in the fine print, most Montgomery County's voters, at least 68% of them, in fact, didn't seem to care, as they overwhelmingly voted to amend the county charter to modify term limits for the county executive from 3 to 2 terms. Dwight, Mr. Elrich said that Republicans and developers conspired against him and the progressive cause that he represents. This is the second time in 6 years that county voters have voted in favor of term limits, so there must be some other reason voters are seeking a change. What do you think that is?
I think, one of the things is I think the fact that we have 2 terms for governor, 2 terms for president limits. Giving the county executive 3 terms. If you can't get what you wanted done in 8 years, what is another 4 years going to do? And I think this is a check on power of the county executive. This is the fact. I mean, personally, my 2 cents, I don't think Elric should have run for re-election, frankly, last time, but he did. The issue is, I think the voters are ready, or kind of like, they're tired of seeing the same people in year after year. And Elric, with all the property tax increases him and the council pushed through and stuff like that, that also had something to do with limiting his term and kind of getting rid of him. I know he's talked about, well, I need to talk about, I need another term to fix fair housing and affordable housing and all this other stuff. But I say it's a great day in Montgomery County where we can limit the terms for the county executive now from 3 to 2.
So, Nancy, given the fact that we have amended the county charter twice in recent times, from first by imposing 3 term limits, and now 2 term limits, is there a feeling that people want a greater say in the electoral process? I mean, we just saw in the District of Columbia, they passed a charter amendment to allow ranked choice voting as a means of allowing independents a voice in primary elections. Is that something Montgomery County should consider next?
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't read this term limit thing too largely. I think voters like term limits fundamentally, without thinking about its implications. And a lot of people don't like Mark. So, and then the Republican Party was there. That's your win. And a lot of people don't like him. And I think it came down to that for the people who know what they're talking about. And just generally speaking, voters like term limits. I don't think it's about policy. Basically, hooray for us. We've given decision making over to the staff. That's what you do with term limits. And that's what they've done.
So expound on that a little bit more, because the executive or the council member has to leave after their 2 terms. The permanent staff are really the ones running the show. Is that the implication?
Absolutely. It takes a long time to understand the process, particularly if you knew. I mean, at least county council members have 3 terms now. Let's see if that changes. But the shorter the time they're in office locally, the more the staff manages everything, because it's impossible to learn this quickly and rapidly. And certainly with the disappearance of real press that covers anything, nobody knows what's going on anyways. So it's the staff that makes the difference. Tell me, I have been there, done that, and seen that. And that's what happens.
I'll before we go on to our next topic, I'll just say that when I first began doing this show 21 years ago, there was the Montgomery County Gazette, the Montgomery County Journal. We had tombstone ads in each of those papers telling readers what our topics were going to be for the weekend show. And every Wednesday, I would have to send out a fax to those journals. And now, it's hard to, you think with, the wonders of the internet, it would be easier to break through, but it certainly is being lost, I think. Anyway, let's talk about the school board, because the school board's been a hot topic for a couple of years now. And after 2+ years of turmoil in the Montgomery County school system and intrigue at the school board level, voters had the opportunity to make changes. And they rejected 2 incumbent members of the school board, Lynn Harris and Shura Evans. And the decision comes as a backlash to the board's handling of a sexual harassment allegation against a former middle school principal, the way it was all handled, the lack of transparency, and of course, the early termination of Superintendent Monifa McKnight. Nancy, there are 3 new members who were elected, Natalie Zimmerman, Laura Stewart, and Rita Montoya. Is this the first step in greater transparency for the school board?
Oh, this is a big victory for MCEA, the teachers union. They're the union supported candidates. New people, again, talk about the staff running the show. It's even more so with the Board of Ed, because they don't have any staff other than the superintendent staff to help them make decisions. So, it's a vote of response to, if you ask me, unimportant things. Why aren't they talking about test scores, student achievement? They're talking about one case with one principal elsewhere. Maybe the board overreacted to all of that, but it's nothing to do with, what is it, a $3 billion budget. And what is it, 250 schools, something like that.
Mhm.
And they're all focused on one. So what does that tell us? People are not interested in knowing what's going on. And bless the new board members, they have a big learning curve and they're not going to have any help, except for MCEA, which I'm sure is happy as can be.
And that's
So,
the real shame.
So
I think
Dwight,
that
how do voters get activated?
I think we really need to do more voter education on, because a lot of people don't even know. The Board of Education is always like an afterthought. Nobody knows what they do. Nobody even realizes they're being paid for these jobs, where in many counties, it's just you get a stipend of $1,000 or something like that. I think the fact that if we take the pay away from these members of the Board of Education, this should never be a full-time job, but it's become a full-time job for them. I think we need to focus on reading, writing, arithmetic, which nobody seems to care about anymore. It's all about wokeism, and the issue of the day. I think the fact that test scores in Montgomery County are down for math and reading, we need to focus on go back to basics, reading, writing, arithmetic. We need, that's how we need to get parents involved. We also need to work more, parents need to care more about the kids. I'm getting the impression there's a certain segment of kids, they just send their kids to school autopilot. They never ask them what their homework is or any of their assignments are. And they just, it's on autopilot. That's the real shame in the whole process, is that people care about the hot button, glitzy issues opposed to the basics. And that's why
it's always about parental involvement and
yes,
their activism to get the best for their children. And this is my old chestnut. I say this every time we have this conversation. We need a voucher system and school choice, so that parents have to make a decision, an intelligent decision, as to where they want to spend their tax dollars to educate their kids. Mm-hmm. So I know Nancy doesn't agree with me. I'm pretty sure, but I bring that up every time. I think that's the next movement in Maryland politics, is school vouchers. It was a hot button in a lot of other states. Stay tuned for parting shots when we come back from this short break.
If I could go back and change it all, I would. I think I'm gonna miss you the most. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Maybe it's just the little moments. If I could go back and change it all, if I could go back, I would. But I can't.
When I first saw Turtle, my heart was full. Now anything but lonely.
We have this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a little bit of a lot of things,
but they're all pure love.
Welcome back. Now with parting shots, Nancy Floreen.
Well, while the Democrats are despondent about national results and the like, I have a message for the Republican Party. Please, please, please volunteer to work in the elections. We have a heck of I've worked in the early voting and on election day. We have a heck of a time finding Republican voters to actually work at the polls, because everything has to be validated by a Democrat and a Republican. Well, we don't have many Republicans, so we end up meeting the requirement with unaffiliated voters, because there's a huge lack of Republicans who are working at the polls. It's not so hard, and so it's one way to quit your bitching and actually participate. So please, 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 I beg you all, show up and put your body where your mouth is.
Thank you, Nancy. Dwight Patel, your parting shot.
My parting shot is we have the election season has ended, so let the holiday season start. We are a lot of good organizations around the county where I say recommend get your canned foods together, donate them to the soup kitchen, open up your checkbooks, donate to these for Thanksgiving, and then donate an unwrapped toy for U.S. Marine Corps Toys for Tots campaign. They do a world of great. I've been working with the United States Marine Corps Toys for Tots campaign for the past 10 plus years now. Through us and the local Republican Party, we've probably collected over 100,000 toys for these kids.
That's great. Good thought, good sentiments from you both. Thank you for being here, and thank the audience for being here each and every week for Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. 21 this week. I'm Casey Aiken.